Driving for more than 10 years now, I have a decent knowledge of the highways and byways around the country. I'm usually not the kind who would get scared easily, whether someone tries to intimidate me amidst traffic or some man having road rage. But there happened an incident that I would never be able to forget in my life. It was around 3 in the morning when I was carrying precious cargo through a Michigan highway when I came across a travel stop. And since I had been driving nonstop for almost 4 hours now, I decided to stop for a while. I hadn't had anything after yesterday's lunch, so I went to the Del Taco and ordered a classic grilled chicken cheese taco along with an iced coffee. It took about 5 to 7 minutes for them to prepare my order. While eating, my eyes went to the corner table with a gloomy atmosphere, where I noticed 3 men sitting around a teenage girl, and judging by her expression, she was scared. It doesn't take a genius to figure out she was in trouble. But before I could decide whether to stay seated or go there to ask what was going on, those men noticed me staring in their direction, and after a few seconds of whispering, they got up and exited the outlet. I am not the type who plays hero just based on my assumption. And besides, I had to deliver the cargo on time, so I continued to chew the bite of taco I just had. It took me about 10 minutes or so to finish the entire thing, and after I was done with my snack, I headed back to my truck. I looked around the area, but the men from earlier were nowhere to be seen, so I figured they must have left by now. But before getting in to start driving, I remembered that I didn't have any drinking water left. So I went back inside to buy a few bottles of water for the next few hours until I reached my destination. I started my truck and turned it on the road, and just so I didn't doze off while driving, I played a few songs on shuffle. About half an hour or so, I was driving on a highway while listening to Charlie Puth's song Attention when I noticed a parked car on the side of the road, and by the looks of it, there seemed to be a fuel leakage in that. I saw the silhouette of a man crouched near the edge of the car. So I thought maybe he was trying to check the issue in his car. Intending to ask if the man needed help, I stopped briefly, and that was when I could see his face. He was one of the men I saw at that travel stop, and that was not all. His face and hands seemed to be covered in some liquid. Upon looking at it more carefully, the realization hit me harder than a rock, making me tremble from the thought that followed by the scene of the blood. I quickly looked around to see if the other 2 men and the girl were around when I noticed her curled up in a corner in the distance, shaking like a leaf while her gaze was stuck on something. I followed it only to see the other 2 men whose bodies were brutally mutilated. Their stomachs were torn open and their guts were all over the ground. I could feel a knot forming inside my belly as I felt like I would throw up any second now. Despite the 2 men's massive physiques compared to the guy who supposedly killed them, their bodies were in the condition of an animal in the butcher's shop. Despite her body trembling, I was taken aback by the girl's expression, which looked at ease, as if she didn't fear the guy who had just killed his fellow companions. And that was when I saw her noticing me. I turned to see the guy sitting near the car whose eyes were now on me. I twitched at how he stared straight into my soul, even though I was still inside the truck. At that moment, I could hear every fiber of my being telling me to get away from there if I wanted to see the following array of sunlight. I started the truck and passed them without turning my head back, even once to check if they were still looking in my direction, knowing full well that by doing that I might have just left a helpless girl inside the mouth of danger. But believe it or not, my mind couldn't think about anything other than saving my own life at that moment. I would lie through my teeth if I were to say that I was utterly oblivious to my selfish act while running with my tails behind my legs, but I know anyone would have done the same if they had witnessed what I did. After driving for another 20 minutes with my mind in a complete haze, I realized that I should at least do something to ease my consciousness. So I called 911 to let them know that there was a psycho murderer on the loose, and told them the location of where I had seen them. I also told them about the girl who was still alive when I last saw her, hoping for them to get there before the maniac decided to kill her too, or he might have already done that. With a disturbed mind, I got to my destination and delivered the cargo on time. Thankfully, everything seemed to be in its place, but I didn't think I could work for the day. So I canceled whatever I had and headed back to my apartment to get some rest. It's been just a week since that incident, and I still haven't seen any news of that incident, leaving many of my questions unanswered. I even searched on Google for any article related to that incident, but no matter how hard I looked, I couldn't find anything. Were the cops able to get there on time? Was the girl saved, or did the man kill her too? Should I have stayed there to help the girl? But even if I did, I wouldn't have been able to stop them. But why did she have that expression on her face? And what could have been the reason for such brutality?
Hey, what are you doing? Stop here. I told you we cannot afford to be seen. I looked at her in annoyance, and without giving her a response, I walked out. It had been over 10 hours of me driving around her with that thing in my car while holding the urge to take a dump. Not like it was my fault we were in this mess. Now that I think about it, I never even wanted to be with her. But now that we were, the least she could do was own up to it. I have had it with her lording it over me. It made me feel like I was her underling or something. Without caring that I had left her in the car alone, I walked into Love's stop to use the restroom. Deliberately taking my sweet time, I started thinking about where it all started going wrong. 6 months ago. Jim, my drinking buddy, had thrown a party before leaving the town for good, and by the looks of it, he had invited half of the drunkards here, but the girls seemed to be giving life to the boring farewell. While intoxicated with booze and hooters, my eyes landed on the prettiest flower of the party. She was as beautiful as a Juliet rose. Sitting on the bar counter drinking her martini, she attracted almost every man's attention. I was not immune to the enchantment of the fairer sex, so the desire to have her sprouted in my heart. As I started walking to her, I noticed Jim approached her, and before I knew it, the two of them were kissing in the corner. I loved the man, but sometimes he got on my nerves, and that time was no different. The girl seemed drunk since she excused herself to the bathroom while covering a hand on her mouth after a few minutes of their kissing, which relaxed me. Looking at how my friend didn't wait to have his hands under another girl's shirt, she must not be one of his girlfriends. I grabbed a towel and went to wait outside the bathroom for her. Regrets come in many forms, and I have no idea mine would be the face of a beautiful woman when I found myself cleaning up her puke at 3 a.m. while she lay naked on my bed. If you're wondering, no, we didn't do anything. More like couldn't, since she ruined my sheets and floor with the crab she had for dinner. So the tragedy of life continues when she accuses me of taking advantage of her the following day. I mean, come on. Woman, I cleaned your vomit off my floor. She wasn't willing to listen to my explanation, and it ended in me apologizing to her after telling her for the 100th time that we didn't do anything. Jim left for a few days, and my life was usually going until about 6 months later. She dropped unannounced at my place, drenched in the rain. She told me that she was nearby and it started raining, and she didn't know where to go. It was like I had forgotten about the other day. Just thinking about it made my mouth bitter. But judging by the way it was raining, she would probably get sick if she stayed like that any longer, and I sure as hell didn't want to take the blame for that, so I let her in. I took her to the hearth room, handed her a towel to dry herself, and turned to leave. "Can't you stay for a bit? I don't want to be alone." Her words somehow felt as if they had some secret encoded message in them, so I looked at her in confusion, only to find her staring at me with desire. As I mentioned earlier, I am not immune to women's enchantment, and the way her translucent dress had clung to her like a second skin, making everything visible, was turning me on just by looking at her. Subconsciously, my eyes trailed the outline of her body over her dress, and as she noticed that, she removed it for me to analyze her bare skin. I don't know what came over me, but I couldn't resist succumbing to my indecent thoughts. The following morning, I jolted up and I questionably found myself. She was lying naked on me. I quickly grabbed my clothes and started dressing up. "Kid, you in there?" It was Jim's voice, but what was he doing here? Before I could say anything, he walked in and his gaze shifted from me to the temptress lying naked on my bed. "So it was you," he mumbled while clenching his fist. His tense jaw and lips said I would not like whatever came next. "Listen to me first. I panicked. "Jim, how are you here?" That siren woke up and asked him while rubbing her eyes. "So he's the one you've been cheating with, my best friend." His words left me flabbergasted. What was he saying? Cheated? So, was it to you? Her nonchalant reply made me look at her in disbelief. Hey, you seduced me. I couldn't finish my sentence as he dashed and grabbed me by the throat. I tried to say he had misunderstood this and had no idea about the relationship, but he was strangling me so hard that I started choking and grasping for air. That was when I saw my moon lamp breaking on his head. He let go of me, and he tried to maintain his balance, and before he could turn, she stabbed him with the sharp metal part of the lamp. Horrified, I stood there frozen, hoping it all to be a nightmare, but it wasn't. It was a terrifying reality. She was no rose, but an oleander, toxic from root to tip, and without realization, I had touched the poison the day I first saw her. She suggested we couldn't leave the body like that and made me load it in the car. I was scared, so I followed whatever command she gave me. Present. After finishing my business, I half-heartedly headed to the car and noticed 2 officers standing near it. Since they caught me, I couldn't turn back, or I would look suspicious, so I continued to walk. But as I saw them escorting out that temptress, I flinched and my steps slowed. She was bleeding through her forehead, and she somehow tied herself with the wire lying around on my back seat. The girl was right. There is a dead body here. Another officer walked in front and informed the other. My mind kept telling me I had to run, but my body didn't follow and stood frozen. My eyes were still fixated on her sniffling and the way one of the officers consoled her. What in the world did she tell them? I was handcuffed within seconds, but all I could think about was how easy it was for her to frame me for everything she did. I should have just called the cops instead of doing her bidding. Deciphering some of their words as they talked about their case amongst themselves, she might have seen them approach and quickly injured herself to make it look like I did it. She told them I did indecent things to her before kidnapping her and killing her boyfriend. As they are taking me to the police station for further questioning, all I can think is that fate played a cruel trick on me the day I crossed my path with her. Hell, I don't even know her name.
Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. Want to go on a bike ride? Ryan asked out of the blue as the 2 of us couldn't sleep for some reason. This time at night, don't you think it's going to be a little unsafe out there? I looked at the time and it was 2 a.m. Come on, Darlene, it would be nice feeling the breeze in our hair with peace where there won't be a single soul to disturb it. He was right. It would feel nice without anyone around. I don't know, Ryan. Still, I was a bit unsure since it's not safe at this time around. Do you want to go or not? Should I just go on my own? He looked at me and said as he got up from the bed, Fine, sheesh, I'll come, I said while getting up and running my fingers through my hair. He gave me a little smug smile as he grabbed his bike keys in the jacket. I tied my hair in a high pony, and the 2 of us headed outside the house, locking it behind us. After taking out his bike from the garage, he handed me a helmet and started it before giving me that thumbs up to sit behind him. I was still a little anxious and nervous about this whole night riding thing, but there was a sense of excitement as well for doing something out of the ordinary. He wasn't wrong about feeling the breeze in my hair. I opened my hand to embrace the air while Ryan nagged me to put the helmet on, as it was unsafe for me to do this. This guy can sometimes be so cool while most of the time acting like an old man. His personality is so damn confusing. So I realized we had headed a bit far from home when I noticed the highway approaching, and he drove right around the circle making a U-turn. But then, as we reached an area surrounded by trees, he stopped. Why did you stop? I asked in confusion. I mean, it was 2-something at night, and he was taking a break in the middle of nowhere. To do this. He turned around to grab my chin gently with 3 fingers and collided our lips together. A pleasant smile automatically made its way to my lips as I kissed him back with more passion, while my lips were still getting eaten by his. I noticed the street light across flickering, so I pulled away. Ryan, I think we should leave. As I said that, he followed my gaze and looked up at the fluctuating light. Are you being paranoid? Scared of a little ghost? He teased me as he said that and started laughing. You know that's not the case. I'm just scared of the dark, and when that light suddenly goes out, it's going to make me uncomfortable.
I reminded him of my nyctophobia, and he agreed to get out of that place. He turned around and started the bike, and as he started moving to the street with more lights, I felt a little at ease. Just when we were approaching our neighborhood, I heard multiple bike sounds and turned around to see about 4 or 5 men riding towards us. They had tattoos and a sleeveless t-shirt with metal engraved on it. It looked like a bit street punk style, and very bad at that. It seemed like guys that had no sense of style whatsoever, and as a stylist, that was an extremely disturbing sight to see. Ryan increased his bike speed, making me confused, and I noticed these guys doing the same. "What's going on? Are they chasing us?" I asked him, since it didn't seem like those guys were trying to catch on to us. "They're a biker gang infamous for robbing people at night, and I think they noticed us and want trouble," he said while maintaining his impressive speed, all the while making sure I was safe. "But we don't have anything for them to rob," I said in confusion, since we just came out for a little night ride. "We have this bike, don't we?" As I mentioned that, I figured he was right. Those thugs might beat us and snatch the bike. The chase went on a bit longer, and since Ryan didn't want those people to know where we lived, he kept taking different turns, and when he was on a familiar street, I got an idea. "I know a shortcut home from here. Do you think you can outrun them to make a turn at that narrow alley by the closed coffee shop?" He nodded his head yes in response, which I gave him directions. And right after taking that turn, he went into the alley I mentioned before those bikers could see us. He immediately turned off the bike, and as the alley was extremely dark, we weren't visible to those guys, and they passed right through us. As I mentioned earlier, I have an extreme fear of the dark, so even though I tried to bear it to keep it under control, I couldn't help feeling panic inside and began excessively sweating. My mouth started to feel dry as I clung to the figure with me, and I could feel my heart start palpitating like a racehorse. Since the biker gang was still lurking around looking for us, we couldn't get out of the dark alley just yet, but my phobia couldn't bear being here any longer. So I passed out. I felt some water droplets being sprinkled on my face, and was woken up by that when I found myself lying on a bench with my head on Ryan's lap. He looked worried, and it seemed we were not in the dark alley anymore. The moment he noticed me opening my eyes, a few teardrops fell from his eyes to my cheek, and I immediately got up. Since I wasn't in a dark place now, my symptoms had gone down, and I was feeling a bit better, but looking at him all worked up and concerned over me gave me a bit of a nice feeling. I hugged him to reassure him that I was okay now, and after a few minutes, we decided to head back. He kept apologizing the entire way back though. He said it was because he insisted on coming outside at this time at night that I had to suffer, and I kept saying it was not his fault. We finally reached the house, and as I was entering the house, I felt a sharp gaze on my back. Turned around to see there was no one there, but still my paranoia made me get inside immediately. I locked the door behind me, and I know someone was watching us, whether it was some member of the biker gang or someone else.
The town that I lived in has developed a lot since this story. But when this happened, there was a lot of factories spread out with lots of land in between them. There was a Walmart being built in the area, but it had barely started construction. There was a main highway that ran through there, but my mom didn't like taking it as much as traffic would get bad most of the time. The side streets we would take were desolate and not much light. There was also little to no cars taking these streets. I can't remember where we were coming from that night, but in the car that night was my mom, my brother, who is 3 years younger than me, and myself. My mom is obviously driving, I'm in the passenger seat, and my brother is sitting behind me. My mom is the sweetest person ever, but is very adamant that she will never stop to help somebody on the side of the road or pick somebody up, especially when her kids were in the car. She does, however, make sure that she calls the police so they can help. It was around 9 p.m. and we were going home when my mom and I spot someone on the side of the road by the passenger's side with their hood up. Nothing out of the ordinary as my mom slows down a little since it is dark outside and doesn't want to harm anybody that might be fixing their car. As soon as we are close to the car, this guy steps out from around the hood of the car towards the street and is waving us down. I don't remember much of a description because I wasn't paying much attention, Plus, I could barely see the man, but I do remember feeling bad that we weren't at least going to stop to see what he needed. The man at this point is in the middle of the road waving his hands, but as we come up to the car, we don't see anybody else in the car. So my mom swerves around him and tells my brother to find her phone and her purse that was on the floor between the front and back seats. I look at my mom and she looks in her rearview mirror and her face goes white and her eyes get wide. My mom slams her foot on the accelerator. This is highly unusual for my mom as she is really good at going the speed limit. At this point, I know something is wrong. My mom's voice goes high and in a panicked voice is asking my brother where her phone is. I'm yelling at her what's going on. All this chaos is freaking my brother out. With him being so little, he's crying and can't find the phone. My mom keeps her eyes on the road but keeps glancing up continuously at her rearview mirror and finally answers, "He's following us." I'm not sure what she was talking about, but know that this isn't a good situation. My mom is speeding towards the highway and thank goodness there's no traffic. I look in the back window and see somebody passing cars trying to keep up with my mother. I ask her where she's going and she told me that she's heading to the police station. As we are getting close, my mom tells me to jump out of the car as soon as she stops the car and grab my brother from the back seat while she runs around the car to meet us. My mom stops right in front of the police station and doesn't even wait for the car to fully come to a stop before she puts the car in park. I open my car door as fast as I can and grab my brother, who has quickly opened his door. I take off in a full sprint with my brother in one hand and my mom on the other hand. Once we finally talk to a police officer is when I finally understand the full extent of what happened. My mom told the police officer that once we had passed the guy with a broke-down car, he quickly ran to the hood of his car and slammed it. He then got into his car and sped after us. That was when my mom knew that this guy had horrible intentions for us. She said he kept trying to speed up to get on the side of us, but she was able to speed up to avoid that. Once my mom turned toward the police station, she said the guy had stopped following. She gave the best description of the guy in his car, but because everything happened so fast, she didn't get a license plate number. I'm pretty sure the police never found him. I'm also not sure what the guy had planned for us if we had actually stopped to help, but I know that it was nothing good.